And I'm happy to say that I'm working on a separate documentary that will focus on the FBI raid and the grand jury investigation. So I'm sure that book will be included in that.
Well, Jan, compound questions are tough, very tough. I'm going to muddle through this. David Skaggs was the congressman that represented Boulder and the Rocky Flats area. In my personal opinion, he was a slime bucket. He had no business representing the people. He didn't do that. And to answer your question pointedly, his biggest thing in life was that he stopped the congressional vote from the special federal grand jurors from being able to speak their piece at Congress, which is a travesty.
But Wes McKinley ran and lost, and so that he could be in Congress, so that he could be released from the pledge of the grand jury.
Wes McKinley, who was the foreman of the special federal grand jury, did run for Congress. He failed, but he ran so that he could, you know, in politics, they can say just about, and they do, they say anything they want, whether they're true or not. He wanted to go on the floor of Congress and tell everybody what he experienced in the grand jury that was so secret, and he did not make it. And but he did run for state representative. He did try but failed 3 times to get signage at the Rocky Flats Refuge as it was progressing. There's quite the story there. And I'm not sure I agree with the analogy that the government had to do something to stop all the collateral lawsuits. No one was working together. Dr. Carl Johnson was on his own until they kicked him off the board and unfortunately died in 1988. But the Sierra Club was reacting to some of the things that Rocky Flats was trying to do on their own. And as I was investigating Rocky Flats since April of 1987, I winced. I thought, oh no, these other civil lawsuits are going to happen and diminish it. But sitting here for 2 days, I would like everyone to know, one of the main components that we were able to do a criminal investigation at Rocky Flats was the controversy. If no one says anything, what's the big deal? And you know, Jeff did a wonderful job explaining that there were a lot of people that were really concerned about Rocky Flats over the years. And it just kept on going and going and going. And it wasn't anything that diminished what we did. What was diminishing what I was doing was politics, was the Republican Party, was Ronald Reagan and his corrupt EPA. It was tough. It's not really the time and place to talk about it, but yes, Jan, when I finally got the green light to do the raid of Rocky Flats, I can only thank Admiral James Watkins, who was the Secretary of Energy at the time, because I think he wanted to make Rocky Flats an example, because he even said it, it's a real mess out there. He did not like what he saw. And so the politicians kicked in. Dick Thornburg was the Attorney General. He was the governor of Pennsylvania during the 3 Mile Island. He had some experience with the government looking really bad, embarrassed. And I think that the one big thing that the Republicans were hanging their hats on, because that's who was in charge. Mike Norton was the U.S. Attorney, and Dick Thornburg was the Republican Attorney General. They were going to install a special federal grand jury, and they did. And that was to keep a lid on everything. That was going to put the court order, contempt of court shadow over everything to just keep everything quiet. And it didn't work out very well.
But John has been involved in many activities to try to prevent more people from being harmed by Rocky Flats. And it was sort of explained in a map, but there was no cleanup where the refuge is now. This refuge is open, where all the homes are being built. There was no cleanup there at all. So when they talk about this this cleanup being the most successful cleanup ever, I'm not sure where they're getting that. But essentially what they did is just imploded the buildings, which were the most radioactively contaminated buildings in America, buried them under 6 feet of soil, and didn't touch what's now open as a refuge. So it's really concerning, and you know, people are trying to bring prairie dogs out there, trying to save the prairie dogs from other places where homes are being built, not realizing that they're gonna dig down into that stuff and bring these contaminants back up. As the nuclear physicists mentioned, we also have like, you know, worms can bring up these materials. So just burying it and forgetting about it isn't the solution. I'm not sure what the solution is. I wish that it was closed and just left as like a research park so we could see over time what actually happened out there. But with the half-life of 24,000 years, that site is going to be toxic for the rest of humanity, likely. So, you know, and it's not unique. In the film, there was also a map that mentioned the 300 sites. That includes uranium milling, mining, plutonium production in reactors, you know, and of course the DOE sites that we know of. But this stuff is all over the world, and definitely all over the US. Does anyone else have a question? Yeah?
Yeah, technical question about the Superfund part of it. So it was a Superfund site, and are you just saying that the part of the whole production facility that wasn't remediated was just the refuge part, or was there like more remediation done in other parts of it?
A lot of great questions, thanks. So the industrial area originally was 400 acres. Because of the Superfund action, it was increased to 1,300. And then like a donut hole in the middle of a big land plot is the refuge now, 6,550 acres. But unfortunately, a lot of people that are government actors, they don't want to talk about the rest of the Superfund site, the most of it. So across thoroughfare, Indiana Street, and south of where the Candelas that you saw in the residential homes, that's another part of the Superfund site, and that was 20,000 acres. So in all, it was over 26,000 acres, and none of it was cleaned up outside the donut hole. Nothing was done. And these government actors, unfortunately, are also, even the health department woman said that they don't like to use the word safe. Well, that's because it doesn't exist in Superfund. So anytime you have someone official talking about safety or safe, Superfund doesn't define it. It's a simple thing of once an area is a Superfund site, then it's under institutional controls. As long as there's an institutional control of a Superfund site, it can't be, there's limitations on releasing it. But once the institutional controls are relieved, then it becomes UUUE, unrestricted use, unlimited exposure, but it doesn't say safe. And the safety aspect of it that doesn't exist is 1 in a million that you'll get sick walking on the refuge at Rocky Flats. And one quadrant, you can, there's 2 parts per million, or 2 in a million that you could get sick. So it's a lot of lame discussions by people that try to think that they know what they're talking about.
I'm wondering, is there citizens groups? Are they watching this wildlife area? Are they testing the animals? Are they taking their kids and running around the plutonium park? I mean, I'm horrified. I thought I knew a lot about stuff that was going on in the United States, but this festival has just blown me away, and I wish I could say in a happy way. That's it.
Your Geiger counter doesn't work on plutonium. Even the manager at the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service carries a Geiger counter around to tell the people that it's safe. It's a validation for him, and it's ridiculous. It doesn't do it. It's alpha emitters. Our plutonium is an alpha emitter. You're measuring beta or gamma, and SafeNet has an organization where people with Geiger counters all over the world are reporting their data if you want to see more data around the world.
So SafeNet has they have stronger Geiger counters for plutonium? They weren't
No,
called
ma'am.
over, no?
No, ma'am. Even when Rocky Flats was being investigated and Bechtel was hired, they're a huge firm, engineering firm, and they were asked to analyze the plutonium with aerial, and there's a whole page in the report. It can't be done. You need to send someone out to the field, take soil samples or water samples, and take it back to the lab, because plutonium is short wavelength.
Thank you.
Becca, we gotta wrap this up, but thank you all. Thanks so much to the International Uranium Film Festival, Norbert and Márcia, and to the venue here. And thank you. We'll be available.
Let's ready.